Dear students, I welcome you all to this video session. In this video, we will try to understand the elements of a contract. Before we get into the particular topic, I wanted to touch upon the idea of how a contract is formed. So as we have discussed before, a contract is formed in 4 steps. So first would be the formation of a proposal, and when it is accepted by the promisee, uh, it becomes a promise, and when promise combines with a consideration, it becomes an agreement, and when an agreement is enforceable by law, it finally becomes a contract. So we need to understand the difference between an agreement and a contract. To begin with, on the basis of creation, an agreement is formed from an offer and an acceptance. And the contract is formed when an agreement combines with enforceability by law. Secondly, when we talk about the legal obligation, an agreement does not create a legal obligation to be performed, but a contract always creates a legal obligation to be performed. When we talk about the binding nature, an agreement is not binding on the parties to it. There is a promise and the promisee, but a contract is binding on the parties to it. And when we talk about the scope, an agreement is a vague term, but a contract is a limited term. And finally, when we talk about the inclusion, agreement does not include a contract, but a contract always includes an agreement. So now we will get into the topic. We will see the essential elements of a valid contract. So we can understand that there are 10 essential elements of a valid contract. They are offer and acceptance, legal relationship, lawful consideration, capacity of the parties, free consent, legality of the object, legal formalities, certainty, possibility of performance, and not expressly declared void. So firstly, we'll look into offer and acceptance. So we know that an offer, also called a proposal, is made by the promiser to the promisee. So the offer must always be lawful. It should be made with a view to obtain the consent of the other party, who is the promisee. So consent should be a genuine and free consent. It must be certain. The offer should be certain in time. It also should be capable of performance. It must have an intention to create legal relationships between the promiser and the promisee. And again, acceptance, which is given by the promisee, must also be lawful. So let us see an example. So Raju has proposed to Samuel to sell his house for rupees 50 lakhs. So Samuel has accepted the offer. So Raju has given the proposal and Samuel has accepted the offer, and there was a deal. The second one is legal relationship. So every agreement should have an intention to create legal relationship, or there must be an intention of the two parties, the promiser and the promisee, to create legal relationships. So let us take this example. So an agreement to dine at a friend's residence does not require a legal relationship, but an agreement to buy or sell goods or to entrust a bike to a mechanic for repairs come under legal relationships. So third one is lawful consideration. So we know that consideration is something that is transacted between a promiser and a promisee. So an agreement to do something for nothing cannot be enforceable by law. So that something which is given or taken is technically called a consideration. So it is the evidence for the legal relationship that is formed between the two parties. So it might be an act of doing something, or forbearance or absence of not doing something, or a promise to do or not do something in the future. So again, with that example, we can see that Raju has proposed to Samuel that he is selling his house for 50 lakh rupees, and if Samuel wants to buy, Samuel has accepted the offer and there was a deal. Here, rupees 50 lakhs is the consideration for Raju and the house is the consideration for Samuel. Fourth one is capacity of the parties. So parties should be legally capable of entering into an agreement. So a party who is entering into an agreement should not be a minor, should not be a lunatic person, should not be an idiotic person, or should not be a drunkard. So for example, a contract cannot be enforceable by law if it is between a major person and a minor person. Fifth one is free consent. So every agreement between two parties should be of free and genuine consent or willingness by both the parties. So both the parties should have same mind on the same subject matter, and it should not come out by forcing someone. So an agreement should not be entered into due to coercion, undue influence, mistake, misrepresentation, or fraud. So we'll look into these topics in the coming classes. So when we take, for example, a contract may not be enforceable by law if it is entered into by forcing or coercing a party to the contract. Sixth one is legality of the object. So when we see the objective of each agreement that has been entered into should not be illegal or immoral or opposed to public policy. For example, if Gopal sells liquor to Ramu without a license, it obviously comes under illegal activity. And so the objective of the agreement goes illegal. Seventh one is legal formalities. So whenever an agreement is being signed, there are some formalities that has to be taken care of. So like writing, registration, etc. So in India, writing is required in cases of leasing a land, etc., gifting a land, etc., sale, mortgage of immovable property, negotiable instruments, memorandum of understanding, articles of association of a company, etc. Eighth one is certainty. So whenever an agreement is being entered into, it must be understood that it is not vague or uncertain, or the meaning of the agreement should be understood. So for example, a promise to appoint Mr. Surender as the head of operations of a company sometime next year. So it is not certain that Mr. Surender will be appointed as the head of the operations during the month of Jan, or during the month of June, or during the month of December during next year. Ninth one is possibility of performance. An agreement should always be possible to be completed. An agreement to do an act should not be impossible, maybe physically or legally. For example, a promise to bring 5 kg of gold from the sun for rupees 5,000 is impossible. And finally, 10th one is not expressly declared void. So an agreement must not have been expressly declared to be void by either of the parties, by both the promiser or the promisee. If any of the parties declare the agreement as void expressly, then the agreement automatically becomes void. So for example, an agreement in restraint of marriage, when either of the person says, I do not want the marriage, then the agreement becomes void. And also an agreement in restraint of a trade, where a promiser or a promisee suddenly says he is not interested in entering the agreement, then the agreement becomes void. Thank you for listening.